Hey guys, what's going on? Red Gambit here, and I'm here with a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time. I've been wanting to make this video pretty much since we found out last year that with the release of Street Fighter V coming up in February, that there are going to be 6 new characters released for the game throughout the year, every couple of months, Killer Instinct style. One of those characters is my girl, she's my waifu, she is Juri Han. So with that being the case, why don't we just take a moment to sit down and, before we know anything about her, really just think about how she's going to fit into this game, how she's going to work, what she's going to look like, and really the overall picture of what Capcom could do with this character who is very unique to the Street Fighter series. Alright, so before we get into the character herself, let's talk about how she should be changed to fit in with the mechanics of Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V is a game that is much faster, much more damage oriented, and much more aggressive than Street Fighter IV. You've got no focus attacks, no FADC cancels, blocking actually incurs white damage, and supers will also scale to 50% of damage instead of 30, along with a host of other mechanics that really ensure this game is much more fast, much more aggressive, and it really does reward going out and being aggressive rather than hanging back and trying to turtle or be defensive. And the reason for that is that those playstyles are actually discouraged. There are a lot of moves that negate or just straight out ignore projectiles, and even fireballs at point blank range are no longer safe on block. Let's look at why Juri does need to be in Street Fighter V, because obviously they had a lot of characters to choose from with the pantheon of Street Fighter characters that have been created over the years. So why Juri? She's the only new character from Street Fighter IV to join the cast at present. Now obviously that can change further down the line. We may see more characters who are unique to Street Fighter IV like Hakan or Sea Viper or anyone else, but at the moment she's the only one who's been chosen. And now the reason for that is that while she doesn't really see a whole lot of competitive play, although that has been changing in years gone by, she's an absolute fan favorite. She's topped a lot of polls that have come out in the last few years, easily ranking within the top 10 or top 5 characters most requested. Aside from those facts, there's also the point that she is one of the most unique characters in terms of style and personality. There's never been an evil female character in Street Fighter lore when you think about it. Also, her mechanics are very unique as well. She's a zoning character who's been given access to rushdown tools like the Feng Shui engine, and she's able to store fireballs for release later on. So it's largely for those reasons that I'm really happy to see that she has rejoined the cast of Street Fighter V. Okay, so how is she going to fit into the game itself in terms of appearance? Well, every character's appearance is actually changed either to a small degree like your Ryu or your Chun-Li, or a lot like Dalsum, Charlie, and Birdie. Now most of the changes that have actually occurred to characters have been largely to reflect the passage of time between Street Fighter IV and Street Fighter V. An example would be Bison with his white hair, or Ryu whose clothing looks a little bit more damaged and a little bit more rough around the edges than what we've seen to date. That said, Juri doesn't need to look any older. A lot of the characters haven't really changed at all in terms of appearance. Really the only character who has changed in terms of appearance regarding age is Bison, and that could be because in terms of lore, I believe his psycho power does really drain the life out of his body, which is why he has all those clones created to be able to transfer his consciousness. However, that said, I think she could probably lose the strange kind of hair horns that she has, the weird pointy hair bits that she has sticking out with the purple rings around them on top of her head, in favor of some long hair that hangs freely, which is what we've seen in the later costumes 4 and 5 that she has, or a single long ponytail which could act like a vicious whip. In terms of her costume, I really think it should remain the same. Some characters have had some fairly big to reasonably sized departures in terms of costumes. Obviously, Ken looks very different to how he's been in previous Street Fighter games, and Charlie/Nash is completely messed up in terms of how he looks. But I think her original costume is very cool and should really only receive some minimal tweaks in terms of design. Alright, so the big question, how should her moves and her functionality change to fit in with Street Fighter V? Well, I think Street Fighter Cross Tekken is a very good indicator. Now, while that wasn't, as we can all agree, wasn't the best game, I think that was really a good direction in how to push her in terms of evolving her character. She should remain a tool-based character, but should be shifted more towards offense rather than pure spacing. Now, I'm not going to get super technical and talk about frame data here, very much at least, or crush counters or anything like that. I want to keep it strictly regarding kind of more her signature moves here. So let's talk about her basics. Let's talk about the fireballs. I think we should keep her 3 fireballs, but the medium and high fireballs should actually travel less distance than they did before. Light should be full screen, medium should be half screen, and high should have very little distance. This would force her to rely less on zoning without taking away those tools completely. Additionally, her fireball store should remain safe, but the fireball release, which has previously been safe, should be unsafe, which is just something that could bring her in line with other characters like Ryu and Nash and Chun-Li. Her pinwheel should remain exactly as it is. I don't think there's really anything to change with that. I think that it's a good balanced move. It has, good punishable startup, good punishable recovery, but it's there and deals good damage and is a good tool overall. Nothing really to change there. The EX version is already invincible to projectiles, which fits with the mechanics of the game perfectly. So let's just move on from there and focus on other things. Now her dive kick, this is where things get really fun. I think a dive kick should cause a juggle state on normals. Now, a lot of you will probably lose your minds when you hear that, but that is something that I loved in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. That was something which opened up a lot more possibilities for her, ways to open up combos, things like that. And it was a great move to just take people by surprise. It's something that does exist in Street Fighter 4, and there's a very limited window for being able to extend a combo off of it. Given how Street Fighter V is supposed to be more friendly to casuals and newcomers to the series, I think take it back to the Street Fighter Cross Tekken version, allow her to be able to use her normals off of that dive kick and use it as a way to open up combos from anywhere other than point blank range. Regarding her V skill, I think her V skill should actually be her counter move. Inputting her V skill along with the direction on the stick allows her to use her counter. It can be the normal version or the EX version where it allows her to go up in any direction that you push on the stick. Given how this counter would have limited use outside of being very defensive, much like Ryu's parry, I think that it should be something that's very fast to start up. We're looking at around a 1 to 3 frame startup, which again is going back to Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Regarding her V trigger, this is the easiest thing of all. Feng Shui engine all the way. It fits perfectly! It's an easy choice, and with the mechanics of the game, you would barely need to change a damn thing about it. Ultra Street Fighter 4 brought in a shorter time period for its activation, around to about 10 seconds down from up to 14. Again, I think this would work absolutely perfectly with Street Fighter V. Give her the increased mobility, give her the ability to cancel into easier links and moves and things like that, and you have a V skill which doesn't need to have anything changed about it. It just works absolutely fantastically within Street Fighter V's framework. And lastly, her super. This is actually a tough call. The Kaisen Dankairaku is a great animation, but aside from the fact that it actually took pretty much too long in Street Fighter 4, I think she does need something new for Street Fighter 5. Kami's super is a super fast style attack where you really see her moving as a blur, so I don't want to see that kind of repeated for Juri, although it would still be very cool. So I think what would fit better is maybe something that emphasizes her vicious nature, maybe something where she may beat someone into the ground and continues even well after they're past the point of fighting back, getting faster and faster and laughing wickedly as she pounds them over and over again. Now, obviously I'm open to other suggestions, but I feel like that's something that would really suit her personality very well, and really, if you're a fan of Juri like I am, that's one of the biggest draw cards to her. Anyway guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Street Fighter V is just around the corner, and I am very much looking forward to it. There's going to be a ton of content on the channel. If you do like Street Fighter V, keep an eye out here because I do post videos throughout the week leading up to the launch of Street Fighter V in February. And if you like some Juri like I do, check out a series called Salty Warrior, which is also on the channel weekly. It's a series which is pretty much nothing but Juri, so that will be right up your alley. That's going to do it for me, guys. If you have any thoughts on how Juri could work better in Street Fighter V, by all means post them in the comments below. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all very soon.